Hey, it's Coach Anderson, Mississippi Public Broadcasting Online. What we're going to talk to you about today is we've been talking about ACT reading, and we've talked about how important it is that you do as good a job, of course, in preparation for ACT reading on the test, so that you can get your composite score up, because that composite score is going to determine if you can get in the school that you want to get into, and also get you into some good money when it comes to scholarships. And mom and dad, of course, will be very happy about that. What we've talked about, of course, in the previous lessons is we've talked about the different types of passages that you will see, of course, when it comes to ACT reading. The next passage type that we're going to talk about with lesson number 9 today is the natural science passages, and how you should go about trying to approach those natural science passages on ACT reading section. Today, what we're going to do is give you a brief description in terms of what these science questions or these natural science questions are about, or these passages are about. And the description of these passages generally focus on scientific concepts, studies, and theories. This is probably the most difficult passage on the reading for me to kind of address. And some people find it to be difficult too, unless you have a real good scientific background. Common themes include passages generally focused on data interpretation and scientific principles from chemistry, biology, etc. All those wonderful natural sciences, physical science, geology, all those wonderful things that I'm not too excited about doing. What we're going to do, of course, is give you a sample passage, a natural science passage, and what we're going to do, of course, the passage is called The Role of Pollinators in the Ecosystem, and we're going to give you opportunity, of course, to read the passage, and then we'll come back in a few minutes and we'll talk about our approach to how we answer the questions when it comes to the natural science portion of ACT reading section. So with that, we're going to cut away for a few minutes, give you an opportunity to read, and then we'll be back on the other side. Okay? You should have had enough time that you were able to go through, of course, and read the passage, The Role of Pollinators in the Ecosystem. I can tell you right now, it's going to be a wonderful read. I don't get nearby as excited about reading this kind of stuff as I do humanities, social science, of course, and prose. And some of you, I dare say, probably feel the same way. But when we look at it, what we're going to do, of course, is we're going to approach it by creating a strategy, just like we were talking about. And the strategy we use, we're going to try to remain consistent throughout. And if you don't have to accept my strategies, of course, for doing it, you should create your own strategies yourself. But you can use what I'm telling you as kind of a resource to help create your own strategy. But these are the things that we're going to do in terms of how we approach natural science. Natural science passages start usually with describing some study or scientific problem. Oh joy. The introduction and initial body paragraphs describe knowledge before some breakthrough or update. Subsequent paragraphs may summarize the work of other scientists and their views. Key terms are defined for you in most cases. Passages may go into great depth about studies or summarize them. The conclusion usually identifies the limitations of the data presented and may offer alternatives for further study or reflection on the meaning of the scientific discovery. Now, if you think about it, now there's a whole lot of stuff that we put in here when it comes to what our approach is, of course, to the natural science questions. And in my mind, they ask for more. They ask you to, integrate more material and more concepts. And as a result, it makes it a little bit more difficult. Remember we said, choose the passages first. Answer the passages first that you're the most comfortable with. And the ones that you're the least comfortable with, choose to do those last. Remember, ACT doesn't harm you for getting an answer incorrect. What they want to do, of course, is to judge how many answers you get correct. Don't worry about, the ones that you miss. You may end up having to guess on some of these questions when it comes to the natural science, if you are like me. What we're going to do, of course, is ask some questions, and what annotations do we need to make? So first and foremost, what is the topic of study? What was the knowledge that previously existed before the study? Is the passage about the difficulty of conducting the study, or about experiment itself, or a summarization of findings? Does the passage identify a problem and suggest a solution? What does the conclusion say about the study? These are all difficult concepts that we have to kind of get our mind around, but if we can answer these questions, we can answer the questions that ACT reading poses to us. Here we have an annotated version in terms of, in my mind, an annotated version. And I try to approach it pretty much like I approach the social sciences and humanities. And what I did, of course, is we're looking at it as if it was a test item that was given. The test item in this particular case was online. and we're able to highlight, of course, and underline. If I can't highlight and underline, I'll make notes and notes if it's a written test. But the first thing I did is pollinators such as bees, butterflies, birds play a crucial role in maintaining healthy ecosystems and supporting food production. When I read that, that to me, of course, indicates what the topic or the thesis statement is. He's telling us about the importance of bees, butterflies, and birds in maintaining healthy ecosystems. And then supporting arguments or supporting details. The decline of pollinator populations poses a significant threat to both natural ecosystems and human food systems. And conversely, preserving and enhancing pollinator habitats can lead to more robust systems. And then the concluding statement at the end, and there's a word that I have here, is biodiversity that I highlighted in, for some reason, of course, in purple. As awareness of their importance grows, efforts to conserve and restore pollinator habitats becomes increasingly urgent, highlighting the interconnectedness of all living organisms with ecosystems is my concluding statement here. All right, remember, there are 5 types of questions when it comes to ACT reading, and these 5 types of questions were asked of each of those passages that you see on the ACT reading section. The first question is the main idea. Not a big deal. We've handled these before, so we're going to do the best that we can, and I'm sure that we're going to come up with the correct answer. Number 1, what is the primary focus of the passage? A, the negative effects of pesticides on agriculture. B, the history of pollination in natural science. C, the importance of pollinators to ecosystems and food production. D, the role of climate change in agriculture. Well, based on what we saw and what we were able to annotate, I think C is the best answer, and the rationale is the passage explains how pollinators like bees, butterflies, and birds are essential to maintaining healthy ecosystems and food production. So it's a pretty straightforward main idea here. Question 2, supporting details. Which detail from the passage supports the claim that pollinators are essential for food security? A, habitat loss affects many animal species. 1/3 of the food we consume relies on pollination. Community gardens can support biodiversity. Climate change impacts plant production. Well, the best answer in this particular case is B, and it is. This detail directly supports the claim that pollinators are essential for food security, highlighting that about 1/3 of the food humans consume depends on the process of pollination. The other options, A, C, and D, are related to broader ecological issues, but do not directly address food security in the context of pollinators. Question 3, inference. And once again, we try to make sure that we tell you every time when we're thinking about an inference here, what we try to do, of course, is to, in our mind, figure out what the author is trying to tell us. In this particular case, what can be inferred about the author's perspective on pesticide use? A, the author believes pesticides are necessary for farming. The author advocates for increased pesticide use. The author believes pesticides have no impact on ecosystems. D, the author sees pesticides as a significant threat to pollinators. I already know the answer to it, and I think you do too. And the best answer in this particular case is D. The passage mentions the harmful effects of pesticides, specifically neonicotinoids, on bee populations, such as reduced reproduction and foraging efficiency. This indicates that the author views pesticides as a significant threat to pollinators, and a bee, of course, is a pollinator. The options A, C, and D suggest a more supportive or neutral stance towards pesticides, which is contrary to the author's expressed concern about their impact. Question 4, vocabulary and context. Remember what we said. If you have a great grasp on vocabulary, and if you read well, you can do, in most cases, you can answer these questions without having to read the paragraph. And I highlighted biodiversity. When I was looking at my answer choices, I saw that vocabulary and context is biodiversity. I highlighted that term, and I tried to contextualize what it meant, of course, as I went through and read. And it says the variety of species, what does the term biodiversity refer to in the passage? A variety of species within an ecosystem, the process of pollination among plants, the effects of climate change on ecosystems, the importance of agriculture and economy. And I know diversity means many, variety is synonym, and the answer for me would have been the variety of species within an ecosystem. In the passage, biodiversity refers to the variety of life forms within an ecosystem, which includes different species of animals, plants, and microorganisms. The last type of question that we'll see when it comes to ACT reading, when it comes to the natural science questions or natural science passages, what is the author's primary purpose in the passage? Well, it's related, once again, to what the thesis is or what the main idea is. To to detail the life cycle of pollinators and their biological processes, to emphasize the importance of pollinators in ecosystems and the threats they face, to discuss various methods of agricultural production. D, to argue against the use of all pesticides in farming, and the best answer is B. In the rationale, the passage primarily discusses the essential role of pollinators in maintaining ecosystems and food production. The other options, A, C, and D, focus on specific aspects of the issue, but are not central purpose of the passage. What we've done now, of course, is we've concluded talking about the natural science passages when it comes to ACT reading. For me, this is the most difficult one, of course, to attack. And if it is for you also, be careful that you should probably think about doing those last. And remember, don't leave anything blank though. And if you even have to guess, because once again, ACT does not punish you for incorrect answers. This is Coach Ash from Mississippi Public Broadcasting Online, and we'll see you next time when we'll talk about the paired passages when it comes to ACT reading.